To begin this discussion, we invite Dr. Nahur Fonseca to the podium to enlighten us on the photography of the thought. Please welcome Dr. Fonseca. Nahur Fonseca is a second-generation Spiritist who has worked with youth groups for more than 10 years in Brazil and for 5 years in the U.S. He is also a speaker at the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Massachusetts and also a coordinator of the Family Spiritist Retreat. He's one of the associate editors of the Spiritist magazine. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Fonseca.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As soon as the slides show up, here they are. So we are going to talk about the photography of the thought. And this is one of the most beautiful photographs that I know. And I'm going to show different perspectives of the thought, going from common sense to science and then the Spiritist view. So, are the thoughts something abstract or something concrete? We have learned at school that thoughts belong to the group of words of abstract nouns, along with feelings, friendship, because they need someone to act, to do it, to think, to feel. What we are going to try to show to you this afternoon is that thoughts, without changing the English grammar, are more concrete than we imagine. They can impact in our physical bodies, physical materials, things, and also in our psychological mind. So, to show the first point, I would like to emphasize or bring this work by Dr. Masaru Emoto from Japan, from the Hado Institute. What they did is they collected samples of water, put them in petri dishes, exposed this water to different thoughts, and then froze the water. As the water was melting, they took pictures in a microscope. And I'm going to show you some of the pictures that they took. So, first is water from the Fujiwara Dam, which is polluted water, before and after being offered a prayer by a Buddhist monk. So we can see that on your right side, the water is much more structured than in the left side. So this is what happens with spiritually magnetized water. So we can see that there is a physical phenomena going on. These other two pictures, one was exposed to the word arigato, which is thank you in Japanese, and the other one was exposed to the phrase I will kill you. So they repeated these experiments with different words, language, different religious people, and all the conclusions were the same. The thoughts that are positive had a positive effect on water, and negative thoughts have rearranged the structure of water. So the inescapable conclusion is that, well, if thoughts can do that to water, what can it do to us? We are 75% water. So of course, we're going to have this physical impact of thoughts in our bodies. Other scientists have seek to take pictures of the thoughts, and they have focused their attention mainly in the brain. So you have electroencephalograms, functional MRIs. All these tools are getting more and more refined. Scientists now are able to predict what the person is thinking before the person expresses it through word or by pressing a button. This will lead the path to the next generation human-computer interfaces, where we're going to act on computers using our thoughts. So this is especially good for those who have paralysis and other physical inabilities. But the question that we raise is the brain the origin of the thoughts? So let me put this more clear. Can a dead brain think? No, probably not. But can the spirit of the dead think? That for sure. That we know. So where science stops because it's ill-equipped, Spiritism comes in. So Allan Kardec defines Spiritism as a science to study the origin destination of spirits and their interaction with the corporeal world. And as we saw earlier, Allan Kardec was lucid enough to say that if in any point Spiritism disagrees with science, we give up that point from Spiritism and follow science. So what we're going to show are some of these ideas of what thoughts are made of from the Spiritist perspective. As the telescope and the microscope opened the doors to the very large world and the very small world, what we are going to see is that mediumship is the tool to probe the spiritual world. Spiritists didn't invent it because it's a natural sense. It's our sixth sense, like vision or hearing. But Spiritism has introduced a methodological way to safely and purposefully use mediumship. André Luiz, in his book, Mechanism of Mediumship, explains that we are surrounded by waves, from the very large radio waves to the very small and very high frequency and very energetic energy inside the atoms. Our physical body has only a limited perception of this whole spectrum, which is basically the visible light, from the low energy of red light to the high energy of blue and purple light. But the limits of this spectrum are not at all known by science. Are there higher frequency energy or higher frequency waves? Are there lower frequency? Of course there are. And that's what we're going to talk about. A very important landmark in science was the discovery that light doesn't only behave as a wave, but also as a particle. It has mass. So if you put a beam of light on grains of dust, it can move the grains of dust lightly. So the scientists made the opposite question. So can particles also behave as wave? And suddenly, what we know as matter is no longer. Any matter that we see, even this podium, can be described by a mathematical equation. So, and where are these waves vibrating on? You know that the waves of the sea vibrate on water. My sound, my voice is vibrating in the air and reaching our ears. But where these other magnetic, electromagnetic waves move on? And André Luiz explained to us that that is the cosmic fluid or cosmic field. That's the medium where not only these magnetic waves move, but our thoughts move as well. And from the book of Genesis, that we're going to hear more in the end, the cosmic field is the elementary matter. In its pure state, that it's inconceivable for us, it is very pure, very elementary. All that we see are transformations of this elementary matter. And this fluid, this matter, when surrounded in a focus of intelligence, we call it the perispirit. It is our spiritual body, and it receives the quality of our mind, our psychology. It will be calming if we are a calming person. It will be unrestful or stressant if we are that way too. So spirits manipulate this fluid cosmic, this fluid field, as we manipulate matter, but they only use their thoughts and their will. As was illustrated in this movie by Robin Williams, What Dreams May Come, in a Hollywood way, spirits can create lots of things. They can create the physical appearance that may not be the same that we knew from his previous life, right? So for a more realistic view of that, I recommend this book by André Luiz, which is And Life Goes On, where he reports on the experience of two spirits recently deceased and their discoveries in the spiritual realm of what they could do with their thoughts. And it's very interesting reading for all of us. So there's a whole new field of phenomena to explore out there. There are no other causes for some of our illnesses than the thoughts that we carry. So Another perspective on thoughts is that thought is also a wave. It's not only matter. How many of us have, before answering the phone, know, oh, somebody's calling me. And then when we get, oh, I knew you're calling. Or complete each other's phrases. So thought is also a wave. And as light and other types of waves, thoughts have frequency. The angels, the wave, the frequency of the thoughts of angels are super short, like the frequencies of the atom that we have on Earth. But we also have short frequencies, medium frequencies, and long frequencies. Of course, the most shorter the frequency, the higher the frequency, the higher the energy, and short the wavelength. This is all physics. We don't need to go into that. But what I want to emphasize here is that how can we generate these thoughts? When? So the short wavelengths or high frequency, we generate them in moments of deep emotions, unspeakable sorrows, or very heartfelt prayers. So when we're doing one of those things, we are generating these very high frequency thoughts. And the higher the frequency, the higher the energy, the most transformation, the most impact it can have on us. The medium frequencies is when we're learning something, when we're studying. So if you're studying something, not only at schools or universities, but if you're studying about yourself, analyzing yourself every night, what we did that wasn't so good, what we can improve, you're also generating this kind of waves, which are very beneficial. And you have this long wave, which is the normal waves, the everyday waves that we generate when we're doing anything special. So, vibrations are everywhere. Even a rock emits vibrations. And we have this powerful tuner in our heads that we can choose where we want to tune. We want the good energy, the high frequencies, or the low energy, low frequencies. We know that we have busy lives and we go through traffic jams every day to go to work. But even for our brain, it doesn't matter if we are in a scenic place or in a traffic jam. It matters what we think of, what we imagine. So I'd like to ask of you, say cheese, because we are about to take a picture of our thoughts, and I would like everyone to look nice. So how can we look nicer in the picture, right? So we have a few recommendations. I'm sure there are plenty more. First, since we cannot stop thinking, every time we watch our thoughts and see that's not good, let's change it. Substitute for something better. So instead of focusing on the bad habits of someone, focus on the good ones, so the person will be motivated to change, especially our children. We should not say, oh, you're a devil. We should say the opposite, oh, you're my angel. I love when you do this. I love when you do that, right? Meditate more. So I told we have this busy life, but we don't need to live a life of reclusion to meditate. If every day we read a phrase from the gospel and meditate on that, and every time that something happens to us, we remember that phrase, that will do a great change in our lives already. Pray. That's the moment when we connect to these higher frequencies, waves of the angels, of God, right? And also transform the hardships of life into lessons. Because if the most useless suffering is the one that we don't learn anything. And when we are learning, when we're suffering and praying for God to get the energy to go through it, we're generating these waves. And those waves are changing our spirit, because everything we think, we create in the spiritual world. So one day we'll be able to say, as Jesus said, that He and the Father was one. That means He was tuned. He was a perfect medium. He had the thoughts. He was in resonance with the thoughts of God. So by little, we'll get there. So thank you, everyone. And